A lot of people thought that this top star would be going to AEW, but they're not. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Don't forget, we're giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers. So go ahead and click subscribe today. Welcome back to the Ango Show. We're going to kick things off with some AEW news. Yesterday, we talked about MJF claiming that he hasn't re-signed with AEW. Now, according to Nick Hausman at House of Wrestling, he says that one higher-up WWE source responded simply with storyline. Another higher-up source at WWE reiterated that they heard Friedman had re-signed last year and believed it happened before his return at AEW All Out 2022, which obviously we know he returned as the Devil. They went on to say that MJF is locked in and got a huge deal when he renegotiated his contract with Tony Khan last year. So if you guys thought that MJF was going to WWE, maybe my gut feeling has been right, because for a while I've been saying I do believe he has re-signed. MJF is publicly saying he hasn't. And obviously we know why this is the case. When you do a storyline of this magnitude, you know, it makes AEW look good when you're on television talking about how your top star turned down WWE. The problem with the storyline, and depending on how much they actually lean into it, it could be problematic if people already know that he has re-signed with AEW. So I'm very curious to see how AEW goes about this. And, you know, I'm very curious as to, because I'm sure within the storyline, at some point, Tony Khan and AEW will drop like a press release, or they'll try to make it a big deal that MJF has re-signed. At that point, I would be very curious to know what are the terms of that contract, the length, the amount of money. You know what I mean? I would be very intrigued to see what he is locked in for, because I do think it's inevitable that MJF goes to WWE. It doesn't have to be 2024. The bidding war of 2024. It doesn't have to be that, but I could see in 4 or 5 years, MJF heads to WWE, and I could see MJF headlining a WrestleMania. And yeah, I mean, I firmly believe that's a possibility. And I think if MJF is staying in AEW, all it really does is give him the opportunity to keep grinding and keep showing people that he is a top guy in the wrestling industry. And when that day eventually comes, whether or not he goes to WWE, let's say in 2028 or 2029 or whatever it might be, I think it's going to show people that maybe he doesn't even need WWE. And that is what's also intriguing. I think MJF is in a very good spot in AEW, and I don't know why he would necessarily want to leave other than testing himself somewhere else. Guys, I want to talk a little bit about NXT Backstage morale, something very interesting that's been talked about with NXT, and more specifically was Baron Corbin. He did a awesome episode of the Not Sam Wrestling podcast. You guys might know Sam Roberts. If you don't know Sam Roberts, I don't know where the hell you are living. Hopefully not under a rock. But he was talking about NXT, and he like genuinely seems behind NXT. At one point, he even says that NXT is putting out fire. He talked a little bit about, you know, the backstage atmosphere, and he says, you know, people are truly invested in themselves. There are different people on that roster that really want to be successful and want to learn and want to listen. So when someone like me or Seth come in the building, Becky, they're asking questions. Randy was there, training. Taker was there. People are all asking genuine questions. Then there are some guys, when you're getting these athletes from all over college, they're high-profile athletes. They might come in and think that they already have it made. And he says that he actually met a few of them. They ask you a question. You can tell they don't care about the answer or what you're saying. They're going to do it their way. They're just trying to play the game. But I've been around too long to know that, and I'm not stupid. Which I really want to touch on that for a second. The purpose of NXT is to get development. And you have people who are experienced veterans in the indies. They have worked for 10 plus years, 5 plus years. They've been in the business. They come to NXT, and basically they're told that everything they know about wrestling is wrong. and WWE tries to get them acclimated to their system. And to see that those people are willing to learn and are willing to take that criticism and really like apply it, you can tell who's doing that, by the way, on NXT television. You can tell the people who are thriving. When you see these college athletes come in, they have no respect for the pro wrestling industry. And those are the ones that intrigue me the most because of the fact that WWE continues to recruit them. But one thing I really loved about Baron Corbin's interview with Sam Roberts was he was talking about working with Shawn Michaels and getting a little bit of a different perspective from Shawn Michaels and being able to learn from Shawn Michaels. And, he's been very open about this in the past, but, in NXT, it's like they're allowing you to find yourself and create a vision for yourself, and they try to come together and make it all possible. And I like the fact that Baron Corbin, longtime WWE superstar, has been able to go to NXT, kind of, change up his approach to what he does, and it's coming across great on television. His storyline with Ilya Dragunov was sick. So when you see things like this, and you hear about the backstage atmosphere being good, and there's a lot of great things being talked about with NXT, it's exciting to see that, considering where NXT was when they were at 2.0. You know what I mean? The physical product itself was always enjoyable for me, but it would be hard to not talk about. It would be very difficult for me to talk about backstage morale knowing that it probably wasn't good, and I could totally understand why it wasn't good. So it looks like they have a really good system in place. Obviously, I'm very happy about that, and hopefully NXT creates more stars. I want to turn our attention to Charlotte Flair. Yeah, often talked about in regards to going to AEW. That is being shut down. Sean Ross Sapp has learned that Charlotte Flair has agreed to a contract extension with WWE recently that will keep her in WWE for several more years. The same thing was being talked about from Medusa, who spoke about it on her podcast. She says that she heard the same. We know Charlotte Flair has a torn ACL, MCL, and meniscus, so she's going to be out for a while. But Charlotte Flair, look, the streets are saying Charlotte Flair got the biggest contract extension for a female wrestler in WWE history. So, yes, she's injured. She'll come back. She will be fantastic. Charlotte is a hell of a performer. Obviously, I'm a very big Charlotte fan. I might not agree with all of the booking that Charlotte gets, but I am a very big fan of watching her. I seen her in NXT. I see her at WrestleManias. I see that she is worth the money. But it is interesting because Andrade was in AEW, and there was rumors that, they were going to try to bring her in. That doesn't appear to be the case. This is actually one of the first top stars that has been re-signed by Endeavor. So now that's interesting because Endeavor, historically with the UFC, they don't care about re-signing everybody. It's been pretty evident in the past. With WWE, there appears to be a different approach. It appears that they understand that they need these top stars and they want these top stars, and that is a very good thing.